The one thing that science and Christianity have in common is that they both believe in absolute truth. In other words, if you have a strictly scientific worldview, right, or if you have a strictly Christian worldview, one of the many things you can agree on is that there is absolute truth.
How do you explore what you cannot see? How does hard science actually lead to faith? How can you grasp that which is translogical? And what does that even mean, translogical? Well, these are the questions we are asking today, my Misfit friends. And fortunately, we have the perfect person joining us today to help tackle those answers. You will recognize his name right away, not just because he has graciously visited us on the aisle several times, but because he is the award-winning Harvard physics instructor, ABC News science editor, movie producer, prolific author, and all-around mover and shaker whose bio is just frankly too long for me to list. But we have the one and the only Dr. Michael Guillen. Yes, the Dr. G is in the house with us, Misfits. Welcome, Dr. G.
Wow, Nancy, I'm just overwhelmed by that very gracious and generous introduction. I feel like
it was all true.
I should run for office or something. I don't know. No, I don't want to do that. Anything but that, actually. But thank you. It's so wonderful to be back in the aisle. I feel right at home with my fellow misfits. We all fall short of the glory of the Lord. We all know that. On this, just so happy to be with you. Looking forward to our discussion. God bless you, sister. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, fellow misfits, fellow travelers, right? So yes. we are both. We are both, and you know, it's always an amazing, and you might even say a translogical joy to have you on the aisle, right? In some ways it doesn't make sense, but we go with it because we're so grateful. And you know what? I believe you've been here often enough that I think you've earned some points on your Misfit honors card, right? So you were entitled to a free upgrade at this point. So
thank you.
Whether it's the bag of snacks or the free breakfast, your choice. So.
Well, you know, we still have that mug you gave us, I think on my very first appearance, and we still use it every morning, Laurel and I, and it's just a constant reminder of your joyfulness and your beautiful spirit and your commitment to the Lord. I just love it. I'm doing a lot of media for this movie that I'm coming out with soon, but I really have been looking forward to this, genuinely. You're just such a sweet spirit. Just been so supportive over the years. Just can't thank you enough, Nancy. Thank you.
Oh, well, you are too kind, really, to say that, because I could just, all day, we could spend the rest of this conversation, me just going back at you, because truly it's an honor to have you. And we're here, of course, to talk about a very exciting project that you've been working on for, I think, at least the last 10 or so months. And it's a movie, right? And not just any movie, but it's an historic movie. And I'm going to let you tell us why it's historic in just a minute. But first, I think you know we have some very important business to attend to. So.
Yep, I'm ready for it. Come on.
Ready. He knows. He's been here. He knows what's coming. Okay, it is time to play our stupid game. For this one, today we have a special. I'm giving you a choice. So here's your choice.
Okay.
Choice number one, favorite movies, or in light of just a few days ago, the Artemis 2, it's now on its way to the moon as we speak. So I thought maybe I would pick your brain about some fun facts about the Artemis. So you choose. Or if you want to do both, we can do both.
That's hard, because I'm actually, right after this, I'm doing a podcast on the Artemis, and
so you've already got them. You're already primed.
But in the spirit of what we're talking about, which is the movie, let's go with my favorite movies. Okay. So.
Okay. Very good. All right. So I just got a few categories for you here. So we'll just.
Oh, okay.
So there's no wrong answer, because it's what you like. So. Yeah. All right. So favorite comedy.
No question about it. Lost in America, with Albert Brooks, and I forget the other gal's name, but it's all about this yuppie couple. They decide to drop out of society, and hit the road and go explore America in their big Winnebago and to discover themselves and to touch grass and to meet, Native Americans. It's the silliest thing.
I haven't seen that one. All right, I'm writing it down.
Oh, you got to see it. Lost in America, and the journey they embark on turns out not to be. Didn't turn out the way they'd hoped, but I'm not going to give it away.
Oh yeah, well,
it just has me. Yeah.
Okay. You know what that reminds me of? Another The Out of Towners with Jack Lemmon. Did you ever see that? Years ago. They go to New York City.
I don't think so.
Same, it's like a comedy of errors. It's just everything that could go wrong in New York City. So yeah, that's like.
Can I give you my second favorite? I think my second favorite is Broadcast News.
Broadcast News. I was just thinking because that's another Albert Brooks movie.
Albert Brooks. I'm just a big fan of Albert Brooks. Yeah, he's just a funny guy. And Broadcast News, because I was a broadcast journalist for so many years, and so I could relate to the movie. But Holly Hunter plays the perfect producer.
Oh yeah,
Albert Brooks plays this kind of wannabe anchor, and who is it? William Hurt or somebody Hurt? I always get the Hurts mixed up.
I know William or John Hurt. I think I don't know.
Might have been William Hurt, I think, or maybe one of the Hurts.
One of the Hurts, yeah.
He is the big kind of very polished anchor.
Yes,
Jack Nicholson actually plays the old veteran.
He's the
veteran anchor. Oh my gosh, it's so hilarious.
Oh my gosh, the scene where Albert Brooks is trying to read the news and all the sweat's just pouring down. Oh yeah. It's cool.
And the stagehand says, "Man, I haven't seen anybody sweat this much since Nixon and Watergate," or something. Like that.
Great.
It was hilarious. So, anyway.
Okay. All right.
Good question.
Oh yeah. All right. So we're moving on. How about your favorite sci-fi?
Yeah, that's also easy for me. 2001: A Space Odyssey. Mm-hmm. I watched it when it first came out. I was a young man, and I have seen it, Nancy, I would say at least 20 times.
Okay.
It's just so beautiful. It's very enigmatic. A lot of people couldn't figure it out. It's kind of a weird film in some ways.
It's Kubrick, right? Stanley
Kubrick and Douglas Trumbull. Doug Trumbull did the special effects. Really was a breakthrough movie, very much like Star Wars was a breakthrough movie in its day.
Yeah.
But before Star Wars was 2001: A Space Odyssey, and that opening scene with the shuttle going from the Earth to the moon is just so epic. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And there's no dialogue. It's just the music. Also, sprach Zarathustra, and it's da-da-da. It just, anyway, don't get me started. That's my favorite. Yeah.
All right. Very good. Very good. You know what? I know I've seen it, but it's been a long time. So not that I asked you, but so my husband's favorite movie sci-fi is The Day the Earth Stood Still. I don't know if you ever seen it.
That's a good one. That's an oldie. That's an oldie.
Yeah.
And if we go back that far, I'll tell you, Invaders from Mars is one. If you go back to the 50s, I loved Invaders from Mars. I still love it because of the little guy. When I was watching it, I was a little boy, and I related to the kid. Who was the first to spot the Martians, and I won't say more than that. But the Day the Earth Stood Still, Invaders from Mars, those are those 1950s, 60s, even 70s are the best. They're best.
Yeah. You know what they lack in special effects, they make up for in thought-provoking heart. So.
Oh yeah, and I love their naivete in a way, and we were so enamored of space,
right?
Back then,
possibly go wrong. Yes. Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. And there's some AI. At least some prelude to AI in 2001. Right.
Oh yeah. Oh, big time. Oh yeah. Big time.
All right. Moving on. Shifting gears. Favorite musical.
Oh, I'm not. My wife Laurel will tell me I don't like musicals.
Okay,
but I do like the one with but I do like the one. What is it with Julie Andrews? Sound of Music.
Sound of Music, sure.
I'll go for that. I like that. Yes. I really love the storyline with the single father and all the kids, and then Julie Andrews swoops in and helps out, and it's during the Nazis. It's very dramatic, but I love the music in that. But usually I don't like musical, although I would say Les Miserables. The Miserables also would be my second favorite.
Yeah,
Laurel got me to see that.
Sing, yeah.
Yeah, Laurel got me to see that one, and Phantom of the Opera, actually. Now, hey, so those would be my three favorites right there.
Okay, and those are, yes, perfectly legit choices. So, all right. So, I mean, I could just go on and on, but I will. All right, we're just going to land here. Favorite all-time movie, like that? Just, I know, besides 2001, is there just one that you could watch over and over and over again? The Desert Isle movie.
Not really. Although I do love, I do love Christmas with the Cranks. We do watch that every Christmas.
Okay.
With Tim Allen and who's the gal?
It's Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah, that's hilarious. I wouldn't say that's my all-time favorite.
All right, but
I don't know if I have an all-time favorite, but we do watch it every year. So maybe definitely one of my favorites. Yeah. Okay. And based on a short story by John Grisham. And I like John Grisham. He's a very well-known author, an attorney. Yeah, no, it's based on a short story. I think the short story was called The Man Who Hated Christmas, or The Man Who Canceled Christmas, or something like that. So that's really? Christmas with the Cranks is based on that.
I did not know that, because he's usually like the suspense thriller, right? The Firm. And
I know. Yeah. But this was a short story, very different, but sweet. Anyway, wow. Did I pass? Right. No, there's no pass or fail. That's just what I like. Right.
So this is your game. You did fantastic. So congratulations. Once again, you've aced the stupid.
All right.
So now let's really go to the movies now, right? Specifically, your new movie called The Invisible Everywhere. So we're on the eve of the release as we speak, right? The countdown clock is running down. It's all very exciting. So what I want to know, let's start here. Tell us the why of this story, and then we'll move on to the how.
Okay, I think if you want the why, go back about maybe 7 or 8 years, and Dr. Rice Brooks, who wrote a book, God's Not Dead, it's a good friend of mine, and I were touring college campuses all over the world. And I think we were at Michigan State, and it was the morning of the day we were going to speak that night. And so our routine, whenever we went to a campus, was we'd either jog or walk in the morning, pray over the campus, then sit down and have a cup of tea or coffee, and we would just discuss things. And I remember on this particular morning, on the eve of our talk at, I'm pretty sure it was Michigan State, he said to me, Michael, he said, I've shared the stage with you now for some while, and I hear you speaking about faith in a way I've never heard anyone speak about faith before. It's kind of like from a scientific point of view, but it's just different. And, this is a man who's been touring the campuses for 40 years. For him to say that, I thought, I wasn't aware that I was speaking about faith in any particular way that would call attention to it. I just was speaking from the heart. Mm-hmm. And so he says, I think you need to write a book about that. And I said, Rice, I'm in the middle of a novel. I'm busy with other stuff. I'm doing this tour with you. But he pestered me, and then Laurel climbed on board, and then my literary agent ganged up on me. The wife gets involved. Then okay, guys. Right?
Yeah.
I said, I surrender. As soon as I'm done with this novel, I'll write the book. And it ended up being this bestseller called Believing is Seeing. And Laurel checks now and again with Amazon. It's still right up there. I mean, it's almost been 5 years since that book came out. And the subtitle kind of says it all. It says, a physicist explains how science shattered his atheism and revealed the necessity of faith. So I would go around speaking after that book came out, and parents especially would come up to me and say, we read the book, Dr. Guillen. It's just fantastic. Love it. Changed my life. I'd love for my son or daughter to read it, but I don't think they're going to read it. They're just not readers. Mm-hmm. Would you consider making it into a movie? Mm-hmm. So I stored it away in my heart. I had other things to do. And, a couple of years ago, I wrote the script. And then I was ready to make the movie. I've made a movie before, so it was no big deal for me to think about making a movie. I'd done Little Red Wagon it came out in 2010 in the theaters, then Walmart, and then Netflix now, right? And now it's on Amazon Prime, it's on Apple TV, it's on Stars, and it's distributed by Lionsgate. So it's a very kind of orthodox movie. It's a very traditional movie. It was made in the traditional way. So I was prepared to do that for The Invisible Everywhere, Believing is Seen, which is the name of my movie. But a funny thing happened to me on the way to making the movie last February, and I'll tell you exactly the day and time. It was February 25th at 4 a.m. I was still in bed. It was dark. Laurel was still asleep. And I wasn't thinking about anything in particular. I mean, at 4 a.m., what are you thinking about? And I just got this download from the Lord, and it was clearly from the Lord. Over the years, I've learned how to discern the Lord's voice versus my voice or my priorities or my anxieties or whatever. But the message was loud and clear, and he said, I don't want you to make this movie in a traditional way. I'm paraphrasing. These weren't God's exact words, but this was the gist of what he was saying to me. He says, I need you to make the movie now. And he told me, do it with your iPhone. And I'm like, what? It's like, make a movie with an iPhone? Are you kidding me? And I was so thrown by this that I actually texted my CEO, who lives in Atlanta and who's also an early riser. And I said, Steve, this is what I just heard the Lord tell me. And he texted me back. He said, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, I have no choice. I have to obey. I said, it's like a change of plans. It's like I'm not making this movie a traditional way, which would take me many years and many millions of dollars and so forth and so on. But that's okay. I did that with Little Red Wagon. Little Red Wagon cost us about $8 million, took about 5 years to make, about 200 crew members and so forth and so on.
Yeah, it's a big endeavor.
It's huge. It's huge. In case people have never made a movie, which is probably most people. Yeah, it's huge. It's a real nail biter. But anyway, so the days went by and I'm thinking, okay, if God wants me to make this movie with my iPhone, who am I to argue? And I thought, I'll buy a new iPhone. I started buying microphones and lights and stuff. And then I was surfing the internet one day and I noticed these things called AI video generators, something I had never heard about before. They were brand new a year ago, believe it or not, just a year ago.
Yeah.
Seems like ages ago, but it was just a year ago. And there was one particular AI generator that was really the only act in town back then. It was called Runway. So I experimented with it, and lo and behold, Nancy, I found out that it could generate these beautiful images. I mean, this beautiful video. And I thought, gee, maybe Lord wouldn't be too upset with me if I did AI instead of my iPhone. It is unconventional. It's super unconventional. The thing is that these generators only spit out video 5 seconds at a time. So I'm looking at a full-length motion picture. My movie's an hour and 20 minutes long. And I'm thinking, can I really make a movie 5 seconds at a time? I mean, that seemed crazy to me. So, but I thought, no, I think I can do this. And so I reached out to a group of churches and a group of people that I knew. And I said, look, here's what I'm setting out to do. And I really feel like the Lord's behind it. Telling my story of how science shattered my atheism and opened my eyes to the existence of God. And I'm going to make this movie using AI generators that you can find online on my desktop, all by my lonesome. And lo and behold, I had churches respond to them, and I called them my chief prayer warriors. And you're one of them.
We
and
are.
You were one of the first. You were one of the first people to step up.
And you said,
"Yeah." And I said, "Look, but what I'm asking you guys to do is a major commitment." I said, because this is an undertaking. I don't know if I'm up to it. This is huge. And, making a movie the traditional way is hard enough. This is going to be even harder because it's just me on my desktop computer using consumer level AI video generators. It's never been done before. And I said, so I need your daily prayer, not prayer when you feel like it, not every Sunday, not kind of when you have time for it. I need you to commit if you're on board for this, I need you to commit to daily prayer. And you were one of them. And I have people, I call them my beloved chief prayer warriors all over the world. I have one in South Africa. Yeah, I mean, one in Iceland. I mean, it's I even have a Rabbi Yossi Refson and his wife Sarah Refson, and they're the leaders of the Jewish Chabad in Charleston, South Carolina. Even he's on board. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, okay, I think I can do this now, being sustained by this kind of prayer. And so, yeah, it took me an entire year, solid year. And I'll tell you, I worked 12-hour days, Nancy. Laurel, God bless her. I was locked in this room that I'm talking to you from. And she would just come in and feed me. She'd say, eat, you're not eating. You're.
Oh, that's a callback to your days at Cornell, if I remember. Yes, right?
Yeah. In fact, I said to her, Laurel, I, in the middle of all this, like in the middle of the summer, last summer, I had no summer. I was just holed up in this room. Mm. And I said to her, Laurel, I think I'm reverting back to my scientific monk days at Cornell. But with one big difference. Yeah. I'm not doing a scientific experiment. I'm making a movie that glorifies the Lord. Right. And I'm not 20-something anymore. Mm-hmm. So, back then I worked 20, 21 hours a day. This time I work 12, maybe 15 hours a day.
Yeah.
But, it was worth it because the finished movie is now done. We premiere worldwide April 8th. All you have to do is go to theinvisibleeverywhere.com, theinvisibleeverywhere.com, and you can see it. There will be a box office, just like you would to go to a brick and mortar theater. Mm-hmm. You'll be able to rent the movie. You'll be able to own the movie. You'll be able to own the movie with extras, behind the scenes stuff, or you'll be able to host a screening. Great. If you have a church group or a youth group or a YMC group, or you have a company where you want to show the movie. So it's been, shall we say, a journey of a lifetime. And here's the kicker, Nancy, and you kind of alluded to it. I asked my friends in Hollywood, I said, are you hearing about anybody else having done this? Mm-hmm. Am I really the first? And they go like, yeah, as far as I know. I had one guy from Beverly Hills who runs a company who is now generating AI content. And he said, yeah, you're the first one in the world. You're the first one in history. And then just to be sure, I asked 3 chat box. I asked ChatGPT, I asked Grok, and I asked Gemini, is it true that little old me, this little Mexican kid from East LA, who's a scientist and now a devout Christian who loves the Lord with all his heart, is it true that no one has ever made a full-length? They made short movies. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a full-length movie made by one person on a desktop computer using consumer-level AI tools. And they all go like, we've searched our data bank. There's nobody else has done it. You're the first one, Dr. G. Congratulations. So I know I didn't do it for that reason, but I just think it's cool, Nancy, that we can say the first such movie was made to glorify the Lord, not to glorify the world, not to glorify fame or fortune or any of that garbage, but literally, historically, people 100 years from now, when the question is asked, who is it that made the first full-length movie using AI tools by themselves on a desktop computer? All the chat box are going to say, yeah, it was Dr. Michael Guillen back in 2026. He made a movie called The Invisible Everywhere, Believing is Seen. Wow. To God alone be the glory. I just think that is the cool. That wasn't the reason I made it. But maybe that's why God had me do it this way. I don't know.
Well, okay. So a couple of things here. So you just talked about, so you even used the word pioneering, right? So this is a pioneering project. You weren't setting out like this. Most pioneers, by the way, are not like, oh, I want to be a pioneer. No, they are pioneers because they just have something burning in them, right? That in your case, the best case is, I feel like God's put this in me to do this thing. So by nature of that, it becomes pioneering. So that's exciting. So, and interestingly, so my church, Eastern Hills in Buffalo, who have been excited to walk alongside you, this has been like one of the themes of our church has been about this, pioneering for God, right? Just being obedient to what he's telling us to do and then going out and doing it. So, But the two other things that just occur to me as we're talking. So you talked about 5 seconds at a time, right? So can I do a movie 5 seconds at a time? Well, think about the average attention span, right? So I feel like my generation, I am the Sesame Street generation, right? So when I was a baby, Sesame Street premiered. And what was Sesame Street? It was fast moving images for the first time, right? And then I grew up a little bit and I became a teenager just in time for what? MTV, right? More fast moving images. And then, so the world has been primed for good or for bad. You can make a case that our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter, 30 seconds down to 15, down to 5. So you're kind of meeting people where they're at, right?
That's true.
And then the other thing is just by using AI, by virtue of using it, because there's a lot of concern about AI, and we could talk all about that, but you're using it for good, right? You've even consecrated this first ever movie done in this way by one person through AI. Kind of reminds me, not that I'm trying to get you to talk about Artemis, but that first moon landing, what did they do? They had communion on the moon, right? So it was a consecration of technology, of this pioneering effort. So that's what I see you doing with this.
Wow, I think you're right on, Nancy. And yes, Eastern Hills Church, your church and you saw it's in the end credits of the movie. I credit all my chief prayer warriors. I'm proud to do that because they have stood alongside me the entire time. I say, and I say in all seriousness, that this is a movie funded by prayer, because the movie ended up costing us hardly nothing. I mean, it would have cost us $8 to $10 million.
Yep.
More like 10 million because of all the special effects. And it costs less than that, much less than that. And so I'm so grateful. But yeah, you know what I compare this pioneering effort to, and you're right, there is a lot to be concerned about AI. I'm not here to say that AI is, the end all and be all, because, it's putting people out of work. It's challenging us to look inward as how do we distinguish ourselves from AI? And I think that's actually a good thing. I wrote a Substack about that. But I go back to when Gutenberg in Germany invented the movable type printing press. And there were a lot of people who were upset by that, because up until then, remember, scribes were specially trained to copy the Bible. Right. And it would take them years of meticulous work, and they prided themselves on their penmanship. I mean, there was a whole industry in, they were the Xerox machine of the 15th century. Right. And so Gutenberg just demolished that whole industry. I mean, put all those scribes out of work. Many of the church leaders were very unhappy about that. But what was the first product that Gutenberg created with the movable type?
The Bible.
The Bible. And to this day, what do people talk about? They talk about the Gutenberg Bible.
Bible, yeah. Made it accessible,
they don't,
right?
Yes. Because he could translate it into many different, they could translate it into many languages, including German. And it was the first time the world was able to read the Bible for themselves, because up until then, only the highest church leaders could own a Bible. They were so expensive. It took years for a scribe to copy the entire Bible. But now you could, and now, of course, you have, like Billy Graham and others just handing out Bibles like candy all over the world. So this technology that seemed so fearsome back then, that putting scribes out of work and making people fearful about it, look, it increased the world literacy rate. And now we're able to spread the gospel like we never had before. And I think AI is going to do that, starting with my movie.
Yes,
right?
And that's what I see you doing. You're making this accessible, even down to that 5 seconds. I can pay attention for 5 seconds at a time.
I can do that.
5 seconds for an hour and 20 minutes. So yes, and you've even broken up the movie right into 9 segments, each taking us on 9 or 10, taking us on a leg of your journey to discover the truth. So, I mean, oh my gosh, we're almost out of time, but I just want to list a couple of the things that you cover, right? So, everything from quantum duality, quantum superposition, quantum transition, quantum tunneling, quantum entanglement, the theory of multiple intelligences, translogic, Fermi's paradox, immortal threat, like all these things are covered. I'm just cherry picking things.
Yeah.
So, because we don't have time, I would love, watch the movie, right?
Go ahead and take a little more time, Nancy. Yeah. No, go ahead and take a little more time. We're okay.
So what I want to do with all that, and you can talk about any of that you want that sticks out to you, but I want to, as a baseline, because this is a story of your quest for the truth, right?
Yeah, it is.
So let's start here, because in this day and age, we say a word like truth. It's like, okay, yeah, your truth, my cat's truth, everybody's got a truth. Can we define truth? Could we do that just to have a baseline? I would just love to hear, your thoughts on that.
I just wrote, and I don't want to confuse your followers, but I actually just released. So the movie's coming out April 8th. Let's just cement that. So what I'm about to say, I don't want to confuse people.
Right.
So the movie, The Invisible Everywhere, Believing is Seen, is coming out April 8th. Just go to theinvisibleeverywhere.com to
I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, let's set that aside for a moment. I actually, about 2 weeks ago, I released a series of what I call 30-minute science pocket guides, right?
Yep.
Okay. And one is on, and I call them 30-minute science pocket guides because you can read them in about 30 minutes, about it as long as it takes to drink a couple of Isle of Misfits coffee in your Isles of Misfits coffee mug, right? But anyway, so each one deals with a different pressing topic. One is on artificial intelligence. One is on science's dating methods. How do we date things in science? And then the other one is on truth. And that's why I'm bringing this up, because if people want to dive deeper, more deeply than we can get into in this podcast about truth, I invite them to read that. So just go to michaelguillen.com, michaelguillen.com to get these
show notes too. Yep.
Pocket guys, right? So there, in that pocket guide, I explained there are 4 different kinds of truths. I don't want to get into all 4 of them, because I think what you're asking is one of the 4. The ultimate kind of truth is what we call absolute truth. This is a truth that that apply to all of us, whether we like it or not. Absolute truth applies to all of it. Now, you can reject it, but it ain't going to reject you. So the example that I like to give is gravity. Gravity is an example of an absolute truth. You cannot escape it. Whoever you are, wherever you are, whether you're young or old, rich or poor, male or female, whoever you are, whether you're an atheist, a Christian, a Buddhist, a Hindu, you live, like it or not, under the authority of the absolute truth of gravity. Mm-hmm. Isaac Newton summarized this truth very simply. F equals GMM over R squared. You don't need to understand that equation. I'm simply saying to you that equation applies to anyone, anywhere in the universe. You could be an ET who is tuning in on this broadcast halfway around the universe, and you live under the authority of this absolute truth. That is the definition of an absolute truth. Now, just as a little teaser, there are 3 other kinds of truths. I'd rather not get into them because I think then it's just too much for I think it's just too much for the discussion. But that's the simple definition of absolute truth. So it's not like if you say, well, Dr. G, I'm not so sure. That's not my truth. Right. Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. I don't really want you to do this, but here's what you can do to test this out. Go to the top of a very tall building and jump off. And tell me if that absolute truth doesn't apply to you or not. You know, you may identify, and I don't mean this facetiously because there are people who do. You may identify as a bird, and you may think you can defy the absolute truth of gravity. Try it out. Go to the top of a very tall building with your wings, your make-believe wings.
Well, I never liked that song. I believe I can fly. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And then report back to me what happens. No, we all live under the authority of
It's true
absolute
for all
truth.
people
You cannot
at all
escape it.
times. Yep.
Yeah.
All people, all places, all times. So
All
I
times.
think, it seems like, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, this is like, why are we talking about this? Of course, everybody knows what the truth is, but we're living in an age where not everybody does, right? So I think that's an important sort of a baseline to establish. So yeah, I appreciate that clarification, because now we have a place to start. So
and by the way, can I just add this, Nancy, because I think it is relevant, and it was really part of my conversion from atheism ultimately to Christianity, is that I explored all the different religions: Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, Islam, et cetera, and I talk about that in my book, and I refer to it in the movie as well. But one thing that science and Christianity have in common is that they both believe in absolute truth. In other words, if you have a strictly scientific worldview, right, or if you have a strictly Christian worldview, one of the many things you can agree on is that there is absolute truth. Mm-hmm. Christianity, obviously, the Bible, the truths the Bible speaks are not relative. The Bible says, well, if you're kind of thin and redheaded and blue-eyed, and you live in Scandinavia, the Ten Commandments, I'm going to absolve you. But no, it's these are the Ten Commandments for everybody, anywhere, right, at any time, right? Yep. Likewise, in science, I just gave you an example of where gravity is an absolute truth. If scientists did not believe in the existence of absolute truth, then what are we doing? What are we trying to uncover then? Right. Am I trying to uncover? Is the whole machinery of science trying to uncover Nancy Carmichael's truth, or Michael Guillen's truth? No.
Yeah.
Yeah. The entire machinery of science is after absolute truths of the universe. Yeah. So Christianity and science are very much in agreement with that. I just wanted to make that point.
Right. And I think it's an important point. And there's, so this is almost where we get, maybe not into translogic, which we haven't discussed. We've discussed that on previous podcasts, but, the idea that we can't, most of the known universe, right? 95% of the universe, we don't know, right? We know about, I think you've said about 5%.
95% of the observable universe is invisible. Period.
Right. So we don't know everything. So sometimes I think because we don't, people can get the idea that, well, if it's unknowable, then how can you say there's such a thing as truth? And yet there is, even within that tension, I believe your movie speaks to that. So even in things that are invisible, like we still can know, even though that we heard this term a lot, maybe 5-6 years ago. The science is settled, right? It's never settled, but just because we don't know everything doesn't mean that there aren't things that are not true. So I bet you can say it much better than me.
No, you said it perfectly well. But let me give you one example of what you're saying. In 1933, and I talk about this in the movie, 1933, an astronomer named Fritz Zwicky. I love that name, Fritz Zwicky.
That is a good name.
Can you imagine parents naming their name?
Astronomer name.
Well, his last name is Zwicky. Let's call him Fritz.
Yeah, it just works.
Anyway,
it's just,
God bless him. He was an.
Yeah.
It's a great name. So he was Austrian-American astronomer, and he was studying what we call galaxy clusters, which are just a fancy term for galaxies that are grouped together, and then they spin around like slow-moving merry-go-rounds. And so old Fritz was looking through the telescope, and he was measuring how fast they spin. And lo and behold, he was shocked to discover that they are spinning way faster than they ought to be, given the mass that they appear to have. Because the more mass something has, the faster the spin. The less mass they have, the slower the spin. It's something we call the virial theorem. So old Fritz was like shocked. He's like, well, wait a minute. What is driving the extra spin? And as hard as he looked through his telescope, he could not see that extra mass, because clearly there was extra mass there somewhere driving the extra spin, but he couldn't see it. And so he said, wow, there's got to be something invisible there that is driving the extra spin. What do I call it? And because he was Austrian, he said, let's call it Dunkelmaterie, which is German for dark matter. And everybody's heard of dark matter now, right? So this is an illustration of what you said so eloquently, which is, what the lesson I learned as a young man training to be a scientist is that you don't have to be able to see something to know that it's there. Fritz was able to know that there is something called dark matter because of the extra spin it was causing the galaxy clusters. And likewise, as Christians, we can say, look, we can't see God, but we can see his effect on our lives. We can see his effect in the universe. We can see his effect in our society, in our culture. I mean, Jesus changed human history like no other single figure in time. So very early, that was one of the kind of revelations I had as a young man, as a young atheist. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I've been living by the motto, seeing is believing. If I can't see it, I can't believe it. But here is one example of where I can't see dark matter, but I got to believe in it because of its effect, its clear-cut effect on galaxy clusters that my friend Fritz found. So, and there are many more examples of that. Virtual particles, the quantum vacuum, dark energy, all of these things we cannot see.
Well, even
and yet science takes seriously.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. Consciousness, right? Because you spend some time talking about that, and that's a whole other wild topic, but we can't see consciousness, right? But we know, obviously, it exists, even beyond our material bodies.
Yeah. I mean, when my mom died of breast cancer, that was a real blow to me, and I started wondering, well, what happened to Mom? When she died, did anything happen to Mom, or was Mom snuffed out like a candle flame? Or as Stephen Hawking would say, was my mom nothing more than a computer and she just broke down and that's the end of it? You know, it's like she broke down and there's nothing left of your mom. So I was very curious about that as an atheist. I said, well, is there life after death? And I deal with that in the movie. I talk about that. And you're right. I talk about the human mind, which again, we can't see. You can't see your thoughts. And yet they're very real to you. They are who you are. You can't see, right? Your thoughts, your feelings. I mean, you can't see these things. They're all part of your mind, right? You can see your feelings and when you act them out. You know, if you're simply sitting there with a straight face being angry, you can't see that anger. You feel it, but you can't see it. Right. You see its manifestation in the real world, but you cannot see your thoughts. You cannot see your feelings. You cannot see your emotions. You only see them when they burst forth into the real world. Well, that's the way God is. You can't see him, right? But he bursts forth in creation. I see him all over creation. I see him in the creation of human life. Otherwise, how do you explain human life? I talk about that in the movie as well. Where did life come from? I ask all the big questions in the movie. You know, I look at us. What are we made of? What are we really made of? And we conclude that we're made of stuff that is not of this world. We are supernatural creatures living in a supernatural universe. That's the conclusion. But I take you, as you say, step by step by step. And that's what converted me from atheism to seeing that God exists. And then ultimately, I became a Christian. So yeah, that's why I'm so excited about people seeing this movie, because if you're a believer already, this movie is going to give you enormous validation. You're going to see scientific evidence that absolutely validates your Christian belief. Now, I have a lot of brothers and sisters, God bless them. They say, well, Dr. G, I don't really need my faith validated by science. Well, okay, God bless you, and I really admire your faith, right? But the Bible, listen to this, the Bible exhorts us to be prepared to explain our faith to a stranger, to somebody who challenges it. So what are you going to say to a scientist who comes up to you and says, well, science points away from God. You're just a dodo bird to believe in God. You're just a weak-minded person who's afraid of the dark being a Christian. What are you going to say to them? Well, I just believe because I believe. That's not going to have any influence on that person. But if you watch this movie, I give you enormous validation that you can come back to that atheist and say, no, actually, you're wrong. And here's why you're wrong. Defend your faith to somebody. So yeah, you may not need the validation personally, but you need it in order to defend your faith against the demons, against the enemy who are going to come after you and try to discredit you. You can influence other people the more you know about why you believe what you believe. Right. And if you're an atheist, you're going to find some hardcore science in this movie that is going to challenge your atheism, just like it challenged mine and turned me into a believer.
Right.
So there's a little something for everybody in this movie.
Yeah, because it's about the search for truth, right? And
Yes.
even when we have found the truth, so you're a scientist, right? So there's still 95% out there to discover and explore, and it doesn't negate what is true, but it's like, oh, but wait, there's more, there's more, there's more. So I would say, even for that Christian says, it's settled, I don't need to know anymore. It's like, but that, God, what does it say in the Proverbs, right? That it is the glory of God to conceal a matter. It's the glory of kings to search it out. So that's glorious. There's joy in that, and being curious, intellectually curious to learn. That's how we grow. And it's not going to stop, by the way, when this mortal life is over and we are with Jesus for forever in eternity in the new heaven and the new earth. There's going to be more to discover. It's not going to end. We're not just going to be sitting on clouds. I mean, I'm sure the clouds will be nice, but there's more. And I guess that's my point is, yeah. So you're just setting this up for anyone who just wants to know what more is out there, because none of us know everything.
Amen. I can't say it any better than that, Nancy. You're absolutely right. And Jesus himself, I mean, if you profess to be a Christian, I mean, and you have this kind of devout faith that doesn't need any evidence, and basically you have blind faith, and that's fine. I mean, if that works for you. But that's not what Jesus wants you to have, because remember, Jesus himself said, love the Lord your God with what? Everything you have, including what? And he made it a point to say your mind, including your mind. Right. You are to love the Lord your God with all your mind. So educate yourself about the creation, about the universe that he created. My movie will open your eyes to the universe you've never seen before, the invisible universe that was created by the Lord. Why would you not want to see that? Even if you're secure in your faith, even if you feel you don't need validation, even if you feel you don't need to know how to explain your faith to others, at the very least, I would hope that you could love the Lord your God with all your mind and expand your mind and to really appreciate the awe and majesty and the deeply mysterious and mostly invisible universe that he created for us. Right. Why wouldn't you want to do that? Right. Why would you want to close your heart, close your eyes to that? The Bible says the person who's, and I'm paraphrasing, but it says, look, to those who close their heart, blind themselves. So why would you want to close your heart to something that is revealing to you the glory of God's creation and all its invisible, mysterious magnificence? And that's what this movie is all about. And that's what converted me. That's what opened my eyes to the existence of God. So again, I really want to urge my brothers and sisters out there, even those who feel they don't need the validation, but man, treat yourself to an hour or 20 minutes of just watching with your mouth open at the beauty of God's creation, and listen to the story of how the majesty of God's creation converted one man from being a hardcore atheist to being a believer in God. And it was science that converted him. Science. I mean, I just, come on. Yes. I mean, what more do you want in a movie?
Right. Yep. And couldn't we all
I'm serious.
Well, couldn't we all use a little more awe in our life?
Awe. Oh, yeah.
We need awe. Yeah. We need something bigger than us, because we haven't figured everything out, and we haven't seen everything there is to see. It's good. It's good to be in awe. So that's what I think this movie is about. So, Dr.
Yeah, I had some reporter the other day from some big secular newspaper, international newspaper, huge circulation. I mean, hundreds of millions. Mm. And she said to me, she says, well, what do you, Dr. G, what do you hope viewers of your movie will come away with? What's your goal? And I said, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you believe, whatever you don't believe, I said, when you watch my movie, hour and 20 minutes, my hope and prayer is this, that you come away at the very least with a greater appreciation of the deeply mysterious, mostly invisible universe that exists beyond us, but also the deeply mysterious, mostly invisible universe that inhabits us. Yeah. There's a universe within us, and there's a universe beyond us. And this movie opens your eyes to both those universes. So that's my hope, that somebody who watches it with an open mind will come away with at least a greater appreciation for the deeply mysterious, mostly invisible universe we inhabit, and the deeply mysterious, mostly invisible universe that inhabits us,
Right.
God's creation.
Yes, the depths of his glory, right? And for the Christian, it's Christ in you, the hope of glory, deeper mystery still. So, Dr. G, thank you. Thank you for just being generous with your time. And yeah, I mean, all the things we discussed before, it's all in the movie, all the quantums, all the theories of intelligence, all the translogic, it's all there. And it is awe-inspiring. So yeah, watch the movie. We'll put all the links in the show notes. Thank you. Thank you. Bless you.
Oh, thank you so much. And I expect my bag of chips.
It's coming. You want the bag of chips? Okay. The bag of chips in the bottle of water. Okay.
God bless you and your followers. I so enjoyed it. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for showing up and hanging out with us today. Or maybe you just kind of washed up with the tide. Whatever got you here. I'm just glad you're here because you are the reason that I show up. And if today's episode encouraged you, well, maybe it'll encourage someone else out there in Misfit land. So would you pass it on? And also, I would love if you would subscribe wherever you're listening, Apple, Spotify, wherever, and even give us a shout out with some of those stars. You know what I'm talking about. And you can find more Misfit fun for everyone at isleofmisfits.com. You can even email me if you just want to say, hey, I got a question. Nancy at isleofmisfits.com. That's ISLE of misfits.com. And most of all, let's keep our quirky community going by owning our awkward, loving our fellow misfits, and seeking beauty and truth everywhere.